It doesn't matter if you're young or if you're old. It doesn't matter if you, I don't know, throw something out there. See, none of that stuff matters. That stuff mattered where I came from. When I spent 17 years in the corporate world, that stuff mattered. Here, it doesn't matter. Because this company says, if you do this, oh, I got you. That's good enough. If you do this, you promote. That's it. The computer doesn't know who you are. It just says, Scott Stoke just got 3 associates frontline. He has 12 total on his team, and he has his 10 customer points. Scott Stoke's a managing director. Just like that. By doing that, Scott Stoke gave himself a promotion. How many of you like that? How many of you know in the corporate world, the right person for the job doesn't always get the job? Because it may be who you know, and they may have a different agenda than you got. This company says, you do this, you promote yourself. You give yourself a raise. You want another raise? Do it again. Just here's what you got to do. Computer knows nothing about you. Everybody's on a level playing field here. And I got to tell you guys, I thrive in that scenario. Because I'm self-motivated. This is something you're building for yourself. This is a passive residual income. This is a willable, sellable business. I want you to think about something. When I was with American Airlines, if something would have happened to me, my wife would not have received my American Airlines salary from American for the rest of her life. Not going to happen. Now, if I would have had life insurance in place, you would have got that, but that's it. Nothing from American Airlines. Guys, if something happens to me right now, God forbid, but you know what? I don't have to worry about my wife. My wife gets my Ignite business. Matter of fact, we've already got our business trusted to our kids. That if anything happened to me and my wife at this point, my kids would have our Ignite business. Pretty powerful thing. You can build a legacy here. And this is something that you build over time. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, guys. It's a business. And just like any other business, it takes a little bit of time and effort at the beginning to get it off the ground. Hopefully you didn't come to hear something different tonight. It takes, can I say it? Work. It takes work. It takes effort. It takes some sacrifice involved. Guys, I love to play golf. I got to tell you, I just have a passion for the game. I enjoy playing the game. But in the first 3 years of this business, I gave that up. I gave up my hobby. Because that wasn't paying me, Joe, except for Greg. I had a little side business with Greg before. But I gave up golf because I had to build this business. And now because of this business, I can play golf anytime I want. Something about this business that I think differentiates it from anything I've ever seen out there. I've got a lot of buddies that own traditional businesses. And I'm not beating up traditional businesses tonight. Hear me. We need them. Okay, I understand. But just hear what I'm saying. The thought of taking 2 months off for vacation is not on the radar screen for them. Not even a thought. Not even an option. Because, you know why? Because they have storefronts. They have inventory. They have employees. They have payroll taxes, staffing. All the headaches that come along with most traditional businesses. They can't walk away from their business for 2 months because their employees will steal from them. Right? This past June, a lot of you probably heard what happened with my wife. Some of you haven't. We were in Park City, Utah for my nephew's wedding. And it was a sit-down dinner reception. And about halfway through the dinner, my wife looked over at me and she said, "Can you walk me to the bathroom?" And I knew something was wrong. And, you know, she was getting sick, and we were up at Sundance, Robert Redford's place up in Provo, way up in the mountains. And so my first thought was that it was altitude sickness. And then it progressively got worse, and I started thinking, well, maybe it's food poisoning, you know. And throughout the night, it continued to get much worse. And finally, I said, we got to go to the hospital. Something's not right, and let them check it out. And little did we know that when we got there, the emergency room doctor said if you would have waited 2 hours, she would have died. Her scar tissue from her cesareans had grown and attached to her small intestine and twisted her small intestine to the point of stopping blood flow, which we found out will kill you. And so they rushed her into emergency surgery, and we ended up staying in Utah for 2 weeks. You know, came back home, and I was at home helping out with the kids for her recovery, which ended up being a long recovery. She's 100% today, thank God. But I took 2 months off, June and July, at the drop of a hat. I didn't have to call Rob Snyder, the CEO of Ignite and Stream Energy, and say, hey, I'm not going to be around for a couple months. Is that all right? I didn't have to call anyone. I just made an executive decision for my business, and I took off and stayed home with my wife and kids. My income during that time went up. I looked at my wife, I said, this is working out pretty well. I think I'm going to stay home another month. Right? But you've got to get your mind around that tonight, guys. What is your time worth? See, we all have a very little time on this earth. Very small. And each of us have different passions and different things that we were put on this earth to do. And you got to hear me. Ignite may not be it for you. It may not be what you want to do. It may not be what you were put on this earth to do. But it can be a vehicle that can allow you to do what you were put here. And I'll tell you why. Because it's passive residual income, and there's nothing more powerful than that. Passive residual income comes in every month, whether you do anything or not. And as you build this business, you can build your team, you can build your business to a point that it's out of your control, and it grows every month. Not necessarily because of what you're doing, but because of what you started. And you've got to see the end before the beginning. You've got to understand what you're doing here. You've got to understand why you're doing it. Otherwise, let me just tell you, you will quit. But if you see the end and understand what you're creating, it's worth the build. It's worth the effort that you've got to go through to build it. It's worth the no's. One of my business mentors taught me long ago, before Ignite. He said, Steve, successful people expect adversity. They expect it. And you know what? They learn to overcome it. When it raises its ugly head, they see it, they go, all right, I knew you were coming, and I'm going to figure out a way to go either over, around, or through you because I am going here, and you're not going to stop me from going here. And they deal with it. You know what the majority of people do? This is what the masses do. I want you to hear me. You got to be different from the masses. The masses, when adversity raises its ugly head, they go, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was going to be like that. Let me find something easier. And then it raises up, oh, well, shoot, I'm not going to do that. Let me figure something. And they go from thing to thing to thing because they can't ever learn to overcome adversity. And if you will get it in your head that success comes over here, past that, and you're always going to have that. Expect it. Then when you see it, it's not a surprise. and you figure out a way over, around, or through it. That's the key to success, and it's the key to success in this business. You don't even have to be smart. Got to tell you a story. How many of you have ever driven from Maryland to New Jersey? Let me see your hands. Anybody? Anybody made that trip? Quite a few of you. What are you guys, working Ignite or something? How much does it cost in tolls?
A lot.
I would pull up to the toll booth and that'd be $7. I'm like, $7? I just drove 5 miles. You know? And it's just on and on. It was $11, I think, something like that, or $15, somewhere around there, to get to $11, right? True story. So I stop at all the toll booths. I pay my $11. Now I was in New Jersey, and I get to, I guess, one of the last toll booths, and I was getting on the turnpike. Okay, so at the turnpike you got to pull up, and it spits out a ticket to you. So you pull the ticket, and then you pay at the end. So I'm up there, and it doesn't spit out a ticket. And these people in Jersey are not patient. They're like honking horn, like, get out of the way, what are you doing? And I said, it won't give me a ticket. And so I hear this lady screaming. There's no one in my toll booth, right? But it's the lady in the toll booth next to me screaming. I can't hear, my windows are up. And, she gets out of her toll booth and walks around to my car. And I said, it won't give me a ticket. And she looked at me and she said, sir, you have a toll tag in your windshield. And that's when I realized I just paid double. I couldn't see it. It was behind my mirror, right? So you don't have to be too smart to be successful here. Hey, I didn't quit, turn around, go home. I didn't ask, for my money back on all those tolls. Just part of the cost of doing business, right? Move on. Things happen. But here's the thing you got to realize, guys. It's so worth it. Make no bones about it. This is about building residual income. A lot of companies talk about it. Very few companies produce it. Say it again. A lot of companies talk about it. Very few companies produce it. This company is producing it. I was reading the blog of one of the top networkers in the country. Network marketer. One of the top network marketers in the country. He's been doing it for 19 years. His company, I want you to understand, his company is in 27 countries and every state in the U.S. 19 years, 27 countries, every state in the U.S. He has 200,000 people on his team. He's one of the top network marketers in the country. Guys, I don't say this to brag, I say this to get your attention. I have 50,000 people on my team in 2 states. What does that tell you?
You got money.
He said, you got money. Well, that's not exactly what I was trying to get out of it. But that's a good answer. What it should tell you is we have something special here. Guys, this is a very duplicatable business. And as we expand across the country, and as we expand into other countries, you have a unique opportunity to position yourself for wealth. You can have a lot of money too. And so can you. And so can you, and so can you, because you're in the right place at the right time. And here's what you have to understand. You can be in the right place at the right time and do nothing, and guess what will happen for you?
Nothing.
It's an amazing concept, isn't it? But you can be in the right place at the right time, and you can mix that with action. You understand that's the difference maker? It's the difference maker between those who are ultra successful and those who aren't. Action. As you build, and listen guys, it's a process that everyone has to go through. Some of you will start that process and you won't have a great start. And others of you will start that process and your business will explode right away. And you got to hear me when I say this. It doesn't mean that this person is better than this person. I've got a gentleman on my team, it took a year to promote to managing director. Today, he's an executive director with our company. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I see some people that get off to great starts and do work very well out of the gate, and others who don't. But here's what I've seen over the last 7 years. The people who are persistent, consistent, and committed long term always, 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 always hit someone that explodes their business. Always. And you've got to be persistent and consistent through that process, because here's what you got to know. When you hit someone that explodes your business in this business, it creates huge residual income that comes in every month, whether you do anything or not. Now, is that worth it to you?
Yeah.
See, residual income is freedom. It's true freedom. Here's another thing. Most companies don't create true residual income. See, in my opinion, if you got to keep going out and doing what you're doing and keep selling what you're selling every month to get it, that's not residual income. Residual income is when you do something one time and you get paid month after month after month after month for doing something just one time. That's what this creates. But you got to be willing to go through the process. And if you will be committed long term here, guys, you're with a company that's going to explode over the next 10 years. Everything's in place. You're in the right place at the right time. Get in, get to work, get busy, don't get frustrated by the process, and be committed long term, and you can create significant residual income here. So I appreciate you coming tonight. I hope that helped you.